What's up guys, AFC Edinho here and welcome to a new video. Today I have a PvP guide for you guys, and this guide is a guide on how to improve in Pokemon PvP and how to get good, of course, and also why losing is good. Might sound strange to you why losing is good, but yeah, I'm going to explain all of that in this video. It's the video I wanted to make for a while, especially since I've started my new course, my PvP course. And in this PvP course, I am guiding players, helping them to become solid PvP players, helping them to become better, of course, and basically helping them reaching their PvP goals. If that sounds interesting to you, you can check out my Patreon, linked in the description, and check out my PvP course. But yeah, for this video, I'm going to give you guys some guidelines on how to improve. And yeah, it's something I use myself as well, as you guys can know, because this guide is going to be for PokeMMO, but obviously all the strategies and information I give can be applied in other Pokemon MMOs, because as most of you know, I have played multiple Pokemon MMOs, hit rank 1 on them. I have played Pokemon Showdown, recently even hit rank 6 on Gen 9 OU in the world. So I definitely know what I'm talking about, and I applied strategies here to help me get to where I am today. So yeah, if that really sounds interesting, make sure to be part of the family. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, it's free. Like the video, help the algorithm, leave a comment down below if you have any questions, but we're just gonna hop right into it. So yeah, just like no matter what game you play, be it Pokemon, be it League of Legends, Yu-Gi-Oh!, World of Warcraft, or any other MMORPG, there are usually 3 similar skill sets that define a good player. Those skill sets are game knowledge, awareness, and decision making. Some might refer to this as skill or macro or micro micromanagement. But for Pokemon, it's going to be game knowledge, awareness, and decision making. Those are the 3 big ones. And yeah, throughout this video, I'm going to talk about this, what they are, how to apply them. I'm going to give you guys a few examples, and if you know about these skill sets, you can use them to reflect on your own gameplay, especially when you lose. And that's what I'm going to explain to you how you can use those skill sets to reflect on your games, on your losses. That's why losing is good. So yeah, again, if that sounds interesting, then without further ado, we're gonna hop right into it. Okay, so the 3 skill sets, guys. The first one is game knowledge, and game knowledge is just knowing all the facts in the game, and also knowing what is common in the game. You basically know what everything does, and you know everything about the meta, as much as possible at least. So you'll be answering questions like, do you know what every move, ability, and item in the game does? Do you know which moves, abilities, and items a Pokemon can use, and which are common to them? Do you know how every mechanic in the game works? Do you know how much damage a Pokemon can do? Do you know how much damage a Pokemon can take from another Pokemon? This is all referred to game knowledge. There are way more examples, but everything you can look up is basically game knowledge. And how do you train it? Like I just said, by looking up the information on the internet or other resources. You can use things like Cerebi, Bulbapedia, Smogon, Pokemon Showdown, or even the Pokedex in-game. It's all about stats and numbers and facts, and yeah, commonalities as well. Just things you can know beforehand and can look up afterwards. But yeah, that's going to be game knowledge. The next skill set is going to be awareness. And awareness is noticing everything that happened in each turn without missing a detail. But to make it easier, we can categorize awareness in 3 levels. The first level is just being able to point out everything that happens in a single turn without missing a detail. Level 2, using the information you got from the level 1 awareness to conclude information on your opponent's team. Level 3, deducing from the actions your opponent takes what he's thinking during the battle. Let me explain all of them. So awareness at level 1. You'll be looking at things like you'll be looking at things that are literally happening in the exact moment or turn. These things are things like my opponent switched to guard jump. My guard jump did 40% damage to Hippowdon. Guard jump activated his rough skin ability when he attacked me with Drain Punch. The rain just started in the battle. The rain just ended in the battle. I attacked first. My opponent switched first. Events like these that are happening in the battle are things you have to be aware of. And the more things you are noticing, the better your awareness at level 1. That's going to be level 1. Level 2. With level 2, you'll be combining the information of the awareness of level 1 with your game knowledge. Doing this will allow you to know certain details on how your opponent trained his Pokemon. Getting answers to questions like, what item is he using? What move is he running? Which ability does he have on his Pokemon? Did he train his Pokemon with speed or did he train it with defense? A lot of questions to get information on your opponent's team will be answered by paying attention to what is happening and combining this with your game knowledge. You'll find out that information, and that's going to be awareness at level 2. If you go one step above it, awareness level 3, then you'll be paying attention to how your opponent plays. Does he switch a lot? Does he try to increase his stats often? You are basically trying to figure out what your opponent is thinking during the battle and find ways to play around it. Going to be your awareness. So how do we train awareness, guys? Well, this is something you cannot improve by just training and learning. Being able to notice every detail of what is happening requires a lot of focus. Getting used to certain habits might help you with this. One habit of mine is when I do or receive damage for the first time in a battle, I usually look at how much damage is done, and then I'm checking out how much damage should the attack do. If something doesn't add up, this usually means that your opponent did something to influence the damage results. This can be done by an item, but maybe he has a different nature or trained his Pokemon. If he trained his Pokemon in a different way. But paying attention to this, you'll figure it out if you use your knowledge. Another good habit to have is taking notice to who takes a certain action first. If both players perform the same action, or if the same event happens to both players, the one that gets it first usually is faster, unless they have the same speed. That's how you can train awareness, with habits and just paying attention and focusing. Well, the last skill set is going to be decision making. Knowing what to do with the information you gather from your game knowledge and awareness, and knowing when to do these actions, this is all referred to decision making. Yeah, some people might refer to this as skill. You will improve your decision making by experiencing all possible situations. This can be done by playing a lot of games or by watching a good player play and paying attention to why they make a certain decision and trying to understand it yourself, like some of you guys might do with watching my videos. So what does decision making help you with? Decision making helps you with knowing when to switch, knowing when to attack, knowing when to defend, knowing when to predict. And this can only be done if you have the right information from your game knowledge and awareness. So yeah, a really good player is able to use all the 3 skills to optimize his results. However, if one part is lacking, guys, then the player will be losing games he's supposed to win. Let me give you guys an example. Okay, guys, let's say you are at turn 8. and you have your Weavile in versus a Hydreigon. Using your game knowledge, you know that Weavile is faster than Hydreigon, and his Ice type attacks are super effective against Hydreigon. So if you attack with Weavile, then Hydreigon will die. But instead, Hydreigon goes first and kills your Weavile with Focus Blast. If you use your awareness with game knowledge, then this happens. I see Hydreigon attack first, but from my knowledge, I know that Weavile is faster, so he must be Choice Scarfed. Now we know Hydreigon is Choice Scarfed. That's how you use awareness with game knowledge. But could you have found this out sooner? Let's say, in turn 1, we have Rotom versus Hippowdon. I switch to Weavile as my opponent switches to Hydreigon. In turn 2, we have my Weavile versus his Hydreigon. Basically the same situation as in turn 8. However, in turn 1, my opponent used Hippowdon. Hippowdon's ability is Sandstream, which summons the Sandstorm. The effect of Sandstorm is that every non-rock, ground, and steel type takes 6% damage at the end of the turn. So Weavile and Hydreigon both aren't these types, so they take 6% damage at the end of turn 1 after we switched into them. However, Hydreigon took the Sandstorm damage first. I didn't notice this, okay? At turn 2, both players switch out. Again, Hydreigon switches first, but we didn't pay attention to this detail. So basically, my awareness was lacking at that moment. Because if I noticed this, then I would know earlier that Hydreigon was faster than my Garchomp. And if we use the game knowledge, then we know that in that specific situation, Hydreigon can only be faster than Weavile if he has a Choice Scarf. So there was no Trick Room or Tailwind. So if we go back to turn 8, if we had that information earlier from the moment Hydreigon took Sandstorm damage first and switched out first, we would have known already that he was Choice Scarf. Would we have gone for the same action? Probably not, right? So basically, in that situation, our awareness was up. Because if we had known, we would have probably maybe used Ice Shard to get a bit of damage off on Hydreigon so we can kill it after. Or we would have used, we would have switched to another Pokemon that could take an attack from the Hydreigon. So basically, our game knowledge was on point because we knew what everything did and meant. And our decision making was on point as well because we made the right decision with the information we had. But we missed information due to our awareness not being on point. Because if our awareness was on point, we would have known Hydreigon was Choice Scarfed, and then we would have taken a different action. And that's basically what I mean to say. Like, you can have 2 out of 3 really good, but if one of them is lacking, you can still lose games you're supposed to win. So knowing all this, guys, you can always reflect on why you lost the game using these 3 skill sets. That's what I want to talk about next. Okay, losses are unavoidable, guys. Even the best players in the world will lose games. It also wouldn't be fun if you would win all your games. However, losing a lot of games and doing the same things over and over again without reflecting is not good. The easiest way to reflect on your games is look at turns that didn't go your way. For example, reflect on turns in which your Pokemon dies and ask yourself these questions. How did it die? And did I use the 3 skill sets correctly in this game? So I'm going to give you guys 3 examples of how you can reflect on a loss using each of these skill sets. So I'm going to start with game knowledge. So the game knowledge example would be my Rotom Wash died because I didn't know Gyarados gets Power Whip. So he got a free Moxie boost. So basically what happened is Gyarados used Dragon Dance, I switched to Rotom Wash. And then he used Power Whip, got a Moxie boost, and he swapped my team. So our Rotom died because we lacked game knowledge. We didn't know Gyarados gets Power Whip. So what do you do next? You look up Gyarados' moveset through Pokedex or whatever resource. You look it up, confirm if he can learn Power Whip, first of all. And once you've confirmed he can learn Power Whip, look at his other moves. Are there any other moves that you might have not known about he can learn? And then you'll remember this for next time. And that's it. This is how you increase your game knowledge. Congratulations. The next example is going to be an example of awareness. Okay, and an example of awareness. I already gave you one earlier with the Weavile and Hydreigon, but I can give you guys another one. Let's say my Garchomp dies to an Ice Beam from Pelipper before Garchomp could attack on turn 10. So, you know, from your game knowledge, from your awareness, you see the Pelipper using Ice Beam. He attacked first. But from your game knowledge, you know Garchomp is faster than Pelipper under normal circumstances. There's no Tailwind, there's no Trick Room, there's nothing that influences the speed of either Pokemon. So the Pokemon can only be Choice Scarf. We determined this by using game knowledge and awareness. However, Pelipper was used in turn 1. He used U-turn. And the rain was ending at turn 5. For the people who do not know, Pelipper has the Drizzle ability, which means he summons the rain for 5 turns. But there exists an item called the Damp Rock, which extends those 5 turns to 8 turns. However, if you see that the rain is ending at turn 5, after turn 5, then that means that Pelipper is not using the Damp Rock, which means he can be running other items. We didn't pay attention to this and Garchomp died, so that was a lack of awareness. Had we known that that Pelipper was not Damp Rock, we might have scouted for the Pelipper being Choice Scarf, because he used U-turn on the first turn, so we know he has U-turn. So if we switch to, let's say, a Blissey, we switch to Blissey there, take the Ice Beam, and then see what our opponent is going to do. Is he clicking U-turn or is he switching? If he's switching, then it might be Choice Scarf, because from our game knowledge, we know a Choice Scarf only allows the user to use one move, unless he switches out. So, because otherwise he would click U-turn against the Blissey on the next turn. But you are basically making a different play if you know that the Pelipper is not Damp Rock. You were not aware of it, and because you were not aware of it, you let Garchomp die to an Ice Beam for free, without finding out what the Pelipper that is. So that's an example of awareness, and due to your lack of awareness, Garchomp died. Okay, the last one is going to be an example of how you can reflect on decision making. Let me think of an example. Okay. Let's say my Hippowdon died to a Choice Banded Earthquake from a Garchomp because on turn 1 I used Stealth Rock versus Scissor and used U-turn, and he used U-turn, which made me lose 30% of my HP. And on turn 2 he brought in Starmie after the U-turn, so I was forced to switch out on turn 2. So I switch out on turn 2. My Hippowdon is at 70% from the U-turn damage. And on turn 3, I bring in Magnezone, trying to kill the Starmie. But my opponent switches to his Garchomp. My Magnezone is Choice Scarfed. I click Thunderbolt, he switched to Garchomp. And yeah, he's immune to the attack, so it has no effect. Because I'm Choice Scarfed, I can only click Thunderbolt, so I have to switch out. So I switched to Hippowdon. My opponent used Earthquake. does 40% damage to me, and from that 40%, I know he's Choice Bandit. Because we know how much damage Garchomp can do to Hippowdon normally. And normally he does about 28 to 30. But he did 40%, so he must be Choice Bandit. Combining awareness and game knowledge. Then he clicks Earthquake again and Hippowdon dies. And now we lose the game because Garchomp can sweep our whole team. Hippowdon was the only Pokemon that could live 2 Earthquakes from Garchomp. So yeah, can we blame it on our awareness or game knowledge in this example? Probably not. Because on turn 3 is the first time Garchomp came in, so we had no prior information on him. Garchomp didn't do anything beforehand. In our game knowledge, we already knew that we had to switch out for Starmie. We knew Magnezone couldn't do anything against Garchomp, and we switched. So this is a decision-making issue. Because could we have done anything differently to avoid that same situation with our Hippowdon dying and us losing to Garchomp? Okay, let's think about it, guys. We could have played differently to get information on the Garchomp. Instead of using Stealth Rock on turn 1, we could have prioritized keeping Hippowdon healthy till we know the Garchomp set or till Garchomp dies. But how do we get information on Garchomp? We get information by attacking or receiving an attack from Garchomp. Because as long as Hippowdon is at full HP, Garchomp cannot 2-hit KO Hippowdon. Garchomp cannot kill Hippowdon in 2 hits. So if we kept Hippowdon at full HP, we could have waited till Garchomp attacked us and switched in with a full HP Hippowdon. And then, make sure to pay attention. Does he do normal damage? Does he take Life Orb Wrinkle? Does he gain leftovers? None of the above? Okay, he does more damage than usual. He's Choice Bandit. Now we know. Or, a different play we could have also made was, at turn 4, when we switched out Magnezone for Garchomp and switched in Hippowdon, we could have also sacrificed another Pokemon who probably wasn't going to be good in this specific battle to get information, because we didn't have information on the Garchomp. The Garchomp was the biggest threat to our team. Let's say you switch into a full HP Mienshao. Oh, he knocked out my Mienshao, so he's Choice Bandit because he does only 88% when it's normal damage, knowing from our game knowledge. But he killed us. He did 100% to our HP, judging from our awareness. So he must be Choice Bandit. Now I can bring in Hippowdon without taking any damage and use Slack Off to out-heal his damage. Let's say with this example, your game knowledge was on point. It was early in the game as well, so you couldn't get much information on the Garchomp, which means your awareness was not the cause either. But you could have played the situation differently to get the information you needed. This means Hippowdon died because you lacked in your decision making. At that moment, if you made another decision trying to figure out what this Garchomp was going to do, then Hippowdon could have been alive and kept your team safe from the Garchomp. So, to sum it all up, guys, focus on things you can control trying to improve. If RNG moments happen, then try to look past that and reflect on the moment your Pokemon die and ask yourself the questions. How did they die? And could you have done anything to avoid being in that situations? Make sure to use 3 skill sets to reflect on your loss. So a tip I have for you guys is first reflect on game knowledge. Did everything happen according to how I know everything should happen? Then look at awareness. Would you have done anything differently if you had noticed something earlier during the battle? Once you are certain of those two skill sets and feel like all the information you got from your game knowledge and awareness in this battle are correct, only then you should reflect on decision making. This is because a lot of players usually tend to easily blame their decision making because they made a wrong prediction. But in a lot of cases, awareness is the true cause, because if they had the right information, they would have probably made a different decision. However, if you did have the correct information and made a decision that didn't work out, you should reflect on your decision making. One good way to do this is by considering risk versus reward on multiple decisions. However, I will make a guide on this topic in the future. But this is basically everything I wanted to share with you guys on improving. Like I said, the 3 skill sets, and using those 3 skill sets to reflect on your losses. And this is why I feel like it's good to lose games as well. Because reflecting on wins doesn't really do much. It doesn't have as good as an impact as reflecting on a loss. Because if you win, you won. So even if you play different, you won, you got the result. But if you lose, you didn't get the result, and then you can think about, what could I have done differently to get the result? So what was I lacking to not get the result? You gain much more from those losses. And even I still do it. And yeah, it's just it's a process that goes on forever. But yeah, I hope this video was really helpful to you. I really put a lot of thought in this. A lot of these terms I just made up myself. I was just trying to make it easy for you guys to understand. And yeah, I mentioned this before, but I do have a PvP course I am giving to you guys on Patreon. You can check it out. And yeah, I will apply a lot of these tactics into the course as well. It's just pinpoint what you need. And try to make you a solid player. I will make you a solid player. Let's keep it at that. As long as you do what I say. We have quite a few students already, and they are doing really well. But yeah, this is going to be it for this video. I will make more guides in the future soon. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, with that all being said, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, as there's much more coming, guys. There's much more coming. Leave a like to this video and leave a comment down below. Help me out with the algorithm. Try to get this video out there, because I think this is really important in improving. Having something to help you improve, knowing what you have to do to improve, that's really important. And also join our Discord server if you'd like to discuss this game. And once again, guys, check out my Patreon. I have a lot to offer there. And with that all being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace out.